I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm just going to say what comes to my mind. So, there's what I would call a false ego, and then there is a true ego, okay? Or you could say there is the lesser ego, or down here, and then there is like the higher ego that's higher up. And this relates to consciousness, of course, as, when we're describing the ego, we're talking about the psyche, the mind. But it also has to do with our personality. The ego is the personality. Well, okay, the nurse is just going to come out and say, like, in psychology, it's understood as you have the ego, you have the id, and then you have the superego up top here. And the superego is actually what balances and manages your ego and your id. Okay, but that's a whole nother topic that I can go into to teach about and describe for those who are inclined and interested. But point being, the true ego, if you will, okay, because in spiritual communities, it seems to be understood that there comes a point in your spiritual awakening and your growth journey where they seem like they expect you to just lose your ego. This is ego, that's ego. Yes and no, because everything is a paradox. And I find it funny, I've been thinking, instead of the Pisces Poet, what if I called myself the Pisces Paradox? Because I like to just explain two truths together at once. Because this whole, this is true and this is false, or like, this is 100% true, this is 100% false, that kind of shit, I can't stand. Okay? I can't stand it. And the judgmental defense mechanism that everyone seems to have when it comes to defending belief systems that we are conditioned and ingrained with, instead of having childlike curiosity and a neutral stance instead of just automatic defensiveness. See, ADHD, man, it just goes off. Spirit's like, hey, I want you to talk about the true ego. And I come on here and I'm like, I don't even know what I'm rambling about now. I just trust that it all comes together. So you have lower ego, higher ego. I call it false, okay? And this correlates because, yes, I know, like, it can sound like I'm shooting myself in the foot as I say that there's a false and a true ego, and I'm also saying that stuff isn't always 100% true or 100% false. How do I describe it? Let's start with the true ego, okay? Your true ego is your happiest, truest, freest, most authentic expression of yourself. There. That's the message. Enjoy your day. Continue on. This has been the Pisces Poet. That's it. That's a wrap. Do y'all like my hat? I love it. It's a freaking alien. It's pink. Spirit told me that, like, pink is, like, the color of this year. Especially April, cherry trees and everything. I fucking love cherry trees. They're my favorite. I love to go to the Cherry Blossom Fest in DC every year, but I didn't go this year and I'm sad, but it's okay. Anyways, so for me, okay, at my core, I am like a fighter. I'm a warrior. I'm a United States Marine. I have always loved athleticism and training, exercises. I've been in and out of the gym for years. 15 to like 17 is when I was really building my body and my mind up to go in service of the Marine Corps. And mind you, I'm 4'10". At the time, I weighed around 93 pounds. It's a healthy weight for my height. Okay. All right. Let's just get that out of the way there. At the time of boot camp, I weighed like 92 pounds, and I was a lean, mean, fighting machine. I had 13 pull-ups, chin-ups, whatever, under my belt by the time that I went to boot camp. I could do 155 crunches in 2 minutes for our PFT, physical fitness test, and we're not going to talk about the run time. We had to run 3 miles. I got little legs, so I passed. That's what matters. And now in today's society, I look and I'm like, 3 miles is pretty nice, But okay, so I'm a warrior, right? I love martial arts. I've taken several different martial arts over the years. Well, not over the years, unless you count the military, because we learned martial arts in the military. I used to take Hapkido and Taekwondo. Hapkido is more like self-defense instead of actual fighting. And Taekwondo is more of kind of like I don't want to say an energy exchange. It's just fluid, very fluid. It's not like Krav Maga where like I'm gonna kill you. It's just like, hey, get out of my way. But it's a martial art. So, point being, I'm also an artist. I love to draw ever since I could hold a pencil. Ever since I was like 3 years old, I've been drawing nonstop. And ever since I was really young, everyone around me told me, "Oh my God, did you draw that? You're so amazing. You're so skilled. Wow." And they'd always go, "Is that freehand? Or did you copy that? Or do you have something under that, like stencil?" I'm like, "No, it's freehand." And in elementary school, like I'd love it when I'd find friends that also drew and everything. I'm a very creative person. And then in high school, I went to a vocational technical school to learn a trade. And because of my artistry, at the time, my goal was to become a video game designer. And so I was an artist, and I wanted to do something. I wanted to get into game design through my artwork because I also love to write. That's another thing. I'm a very creative person. If you're a human being, you're a very creative person. Okay? In the Bible, right at the beginning, it says, "Let us make man in our image." Okay? So what does that mean? That means that you literally are a creator being. You are endowed by the Creator with the ability to create. Amazing. Anyways, so yeah, I love to create. So what do I mean by true and a false ego? So false ego tells you is built around this survival mechanism, societal bullshit that we're currently dealing with. The narcissist, empath, friction war we got going on here, if you will. That tells us that, like the little kid that we are when we're real little and we have these big dreams, and little kids are just in the moment and everything, and we're all happy and whatever. There's no responsibility, there's nothing to judge. We're not aware like that. We're just kids, and kids are just in the moment, and they're just happy. And when they're like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" and they're always like, "Oh, I want to be an astronaut, I want to be president of the United States, I want to go to Mount Everest," whatever. It's always these big, fanciful, amazing dreams, because no one has touched our soul yet to fucking crush it. Or at least If you're a little kid, I would hope not, but I know very many people don't even get the blessing of having a semi-normal childhood. I experienced my first trauma when I was around 4 or 5, consciously, myself, and went into a defense mechanism. Point being, I've always been told I'm like a very sensitive person, because I am. And, you know, up until a few years ago, I listened to the world, to society, telling me that that was a weakness. My ability to be a fucking human being with feelings is a weakness, guys. In this fucked up society where narcissism is just fucking rampant, and me, I, we don't even care about the fucking environment. We don't even care about American citizens getting killed, shot in broad daylight, by the U.S. government, getting round up and stuff and sent to detention centers. It's basically a modern day ghetto or concentration camp. But anyways, modern day basic human freaking empathy is just dwindling in numbers. And point being, sorry guys, I'm very passionate and I just get on tangents. I lost it. It'll come back to me. Spirit send me back. Very empathic, so very sensitive feely, very in tune to God, to spirit, and to myself, and to the world around me. We take on others' energy and don't even recognize it, because no one here tells us about energy, which is also insane. But anyways, so false self, false ego is based in this survival of, you're not worthy, you're not good enough, you'll never amount to shit. You get my drift, yeah? We've all been there. We've all been told that we're basically shit in some form or another, okay? I grew up Christian. The entire basis of Christian theology is so ironic, because they say that God is all loving and unconditionally loves you and everything, except there's a million conditions to that love. And you're born unworthy. You're born a sinner, a no good, rotten to your core, evil. Basically evil, because if you're not of God, right, then you're seen as evil. If you're not of God, and God is all holy and just and all loving and everything good in life, and if you're not with that vibe on that train car, you're getting left behind at the station, and the station is just fucking hell and misery, okay? Yeah, so, we grow up believing this shit based on trauma, based on narcissism, based on fucking all this bullshit, and then we take it on as our own, okay? And that little kid gets kind of left behind with our dreams and our passions and who the fuck we truly are inside, that's based on love and trust and compassion and honesty and friendship and unity. When we are babes and then we grow into little kids, before we really develop our own personality and consciousness around 7 to 12 or 9 to 12, whatever. 7 is when your subconscious starts solidifying into, is it gray matter? Yeah, gray matter in your brain, in your neurons, your brain starts to solidify. It's no longer just an empty canvas that you, like, everyone around you just sprays paint on and creates an artwork, And now those colors are on your canvas. That is your personality. That is your view of your outside world, that also determines your inside world. You know, from birth, the thing is, are we safe or are we not safe? Okay, that's what it comes down to, because there's different levels to the brain, and one of them, the most basic, is the reptilian brain, that is like at the brainstem back here, that is responsible for just basic human survival. Okay, and Maslow's hierarchy of needs, at the basis, out of like the 5-6 levels, whatever it is survival. Okay, so if we are not safe, if we are not warm, if we are being chased by a grizzly bear in the woods, if we are naked, I mean, not naked, but if we are, you get my point. You know, you don't want to be naked in the fucking woods. I say that as I just watched a video about, you know, like Amazon rainforest tribes that are fucking literally butt-ass naked. Like, good for y'all. You get my point, though, okay? If you're in some way not safe and secure, then we have a bad time here in this physical plane, which is why safety is fucking everything. And anyone that you see with any kind of fucking addiction is dealing with, at their root, at their heart of the matter, they're dealing with not feeling safe. Okay? So if you think about God in any way, I want you to think, you know, with like the whole good and just and everything, it comes down to, am I safe? Because if there's love and there's goodness, that means that there's sunshine, and sunshine gives light, and sunshine gives life, you know. The seasons change and plants start to grow and sprout up because there's light again after winter when it's all dark. Okay, so because they're safe. Does that make sense? And if you don't have that light and that goodness and that warmth, then you're not going to grow like a plant. Okay, so we need that sunlight, that warmth to grow. Think about like a little baby in the womb, you know? We're floating, literally floating in water. And as someone who has been, well, have you ever been like, you know, in the pool and you're swimming and you're all light and buoyant, and then you get out of the water and you start to walk again, and, you know, maybe like a wind goes by, and so you start to get cold because the water's on you and everything. It's like that when we leave the womb, when we go from the womb to here, to this lovely place. It is lovely. It's just, you know, everything's a give and a take. And it can be rough in these streets as a human. So, good job on you and me. Give yourself a little pat on the back. So yeah, it comes down to safety. When the little baby comes out of the womb, we start to cry because we're all cold and we're scared and it's all bright. And we're like, what the fuck is this? Oh my God, I don't like it. Because we don't feel safe. You know? And in the womb, we're nice and protected in our little shells, so we can just, you know? So that personality develops over the course of those 7 years, really, as to if we view the world and ourselves and everything else around that as safe or unsafe. And trauma and issues with that really fuck with that safety. So true self is rooted in safety. And false self is not rooted in safety. It's rooted in fear and separation. And then true self, higher self, is like the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where we're into the self-actualization phase now of things, and are able to become self-realized because we have the other 4 bases covered of safety, stability, security. I forget the other ones right now. But it basically, it builds from safety. Do we have food, water? Are we warm? Do we have shelter? All that good stuff, you know. I'm not being chased by a bear in the woods. So true self is our happiest, most free, childlike expression that has no quarrels, no qualms, feels safe. And in safety, we are able to trust. Trust and safety go hand in hand. And because they go hand in hand, that means like love and goodness also go hand in hand. It's all based on safety, you know? That's why in really impoverished areas or places around the world that struggle with their security, their stability, they do not feel safe, and that's why there's more crime and everything. I mean, because of the economic reasons, of course, that's always the reason, but bless y'all for sticking with me. Whoever sticks with me. Y'all the real ones, and I appreciate you. I'm just here to try to give a new perspective, a different perspective to things. And I want you to know that, like, you literally could be, like, the most successful person. And, like, you could be one of those astronauts that just went to the moon and came back, okay? And that doesn't mean that that's your truest, most free, authentic self. There's this thing with this planet where people, especially young people, follow celebrities or even just friend groups. You know, there's always like a leader of a friend group. They follow them like idols, and like sheep with a shepherd. And they mimic them, they mirror them, instead of going their own way and finding their own style and their own self-expression. Like in college, in the summertime, girls would come out in droves of like 3 to 5 and they would look like clones. It kind of freaked me out, I'm not gonna lie. Like same blonde or brunette hair, same kind of curl style, same, you know, crop top, whatever shirt, and the tight jean shorts or whatever the season was or something, you know. Or it would be like the same leggings, the same Starbucks coffee. I get having a group of like-minded people, you know, friends that you do stuff with and you share hobbies and connection with. Okay, that's one thing. But when you're a part of like a clique just to fit in somewhere, that's not authenticity. And if it's not authentic, it's not love. It's not rooted in love and goodness and safety. You're doing it for safety, but you're not going to find your safety in any crowd. The only place you will ever find safety is within your own heart. Okay? Take that to the grave, because it's the God honest truth. As someone who's now 29, has been through the Marine Corps, my femur shattered, okay? My femur, it's typically like this, you know? Good healthy femur. Okay? Mine went. Okay? And then I had to deal with getting out of the Marines. I lost my entire identity that I had built up over the years, believing that my true identity never really left, because here I am back to being my creative, passionate self. I no longer want to be a game designer. I mean, that'd be dope as fuck, but you know, now I get to create in the game of life, so that's even better. You know, there's what we think is true and false, what we think is our personality and our identity and our belief systems. And then there's the unknown, the outside. You know, we've got this little bubble right here that's our mind and our being. But then there's this whole big fucking bubble that we can't even begin to comprehend outside of it, that is our entire potential, our entire being. Okay, so I'm not just a Marine. I'm not just a nurse. I'm not just a daughter. I'm not just a white or a gay chick. I am everything. I am so much. And I am not unworthy. I am not inferior. I am not stupid. With ADHD, you know, I've always thought, especially as a little kid, because ADHD, mental stuff wasn't even thought of, really. We didn't have any guidance like kids nowadays have, which is amazing for kids nowadays. Even for me, it took until university, my junior year, to recognize that I do have something, and it turns out it's ADHD. But as a kid, even my mom was like, "You're a bit slow. You're a bit behind." And I'm like, could you imagine as like 11, 12-year-old or even younger being told by your own mother that you love and adore that you're slow and behind? And I've always felt like that. I've always grown up being surrounded by peers in every class level, feeling different, feeling separate, feeling less than in some way because I believed what others had told me about myself. I put that shirt on as my identity, okay? It doesn't make it true just because someone said it, even mama, okay? I love mama to death. But mama didn't know about ADHD. I didn't know about ADHD, and now we know about ADHD. And honey, I passed nursing school, okay? I struggled at first, the first few years, especially 2020 was COVID when I went in as a freshman. So imagine being a freshman in university. I went to Penn State. I went to Penn State main campus, okay? So it is a fucking literal city. All right, 45,000 students go here every year. We have several buses just to be able to go around the campus, okay? I wasn't able to experience any of that. But point being, I mean, until everything opened up again. But it was a very jarring time, and I felt very, even more isolated after everything I went through in the Marines. And in the Marines, I was told I was weak. There were about 55 of us in our platoon, and we're standing on the line in the squad bay, and don't know why, but our senior drill instructor comes by. I think it was like week 8, week 9 out of 12 or something, week 8, something, week 7, I don't remember, one of those. So we were like halfway through our transformation from civilian to Marine, and she goes, who among you is the weakest link? And this girl across the way, it totally was a shitbag. Like, I felt all eyes on me. And when you're standing at the position of attention, you can't look around. You can't just move your head. So, you know, everyone's just like looking at me. And I was just, and this fucking, she says my last name. And honey, I ran to the head, which is the bathroom. And I broke down in tears. Something you don't do in the Marine Corps, in the military, in boot camp. You don't show weakness. You don't cry. You don't show sensitivity. That's weak. But am I really weak? Am I really the weakest link because I just graduated nursing school? I still have these fucking guns. So everything that these people put on me, I adopted as my own garment, my own t-shirt, my own jacket, my own clothes, my own skin. I took it on as my identity. And I wore it, and I wore it, and I wore it. Until, like, just like clothes and shoes, like, they got holy. And it started to fall apart and collapse on me. And I became naked again. And found myself again. And now I'm here, to this point. Where I have the fucking courage and audacity to just speak my fucking truth to whoever cares. And especially to the ones who don't. To be able to be an inspiration for others. Everything that I went through was to put me right fucking smack dab here. Okay, so everything that everyone told me about how I'm too sensitive, slow, behind my classmates. Oh, I didn't finish telling you. I graduated nursing school in the hardest ICU senior level classes that we get. That's the most rigorous and intense for our senior year. By the end, I was passing my exams with a 96. And I had no issues wondering if I was going to pass, wondering if I was enough, if I was worthy of this, if I was going to make it. Because everyone before, my whole life, had put an identity on me and told me that I'm this thing, that this is my identity, this is my being. And it's less than, not enough, weak, the weakest link, unworthy. Oh, broken. The Marines love to use the word broken for when you are injured. Broken is what we are called. Yep. So your girl was told for a year straight while she served in the military that I was weak, and sometimes that I was a waste of government money. Ooh, someone told me one time that I signed up for this. I signed up to get my femur broken. So all this bullshit, okay, that everyone, I don't give a fuck who you are, mama included, okay? Everyone with their stuff, okay? Told me who I am. Even my being raised Christian and my belief in God and all that told me that I'm just a sinner. A no-good, rotten sinner. And it's by God's grace and God's love that he doesn't just smite us all dead in an instant. You should just be fucking grateful to be a maggot on this planet, basically. Like, just be thankful to accept the fucking worms and breadcrumbs and scraps, because that's all that you're worthy of. So I said, no, thank you. I'm gonna just take that and, okay? And I found my true ego. I found my higher self. I found my inner God within my own heart. And I mended my brain, I mended my mind, and I mended my heart. And now the two are coherent. And they work together, not against one another. Because, you know, your heart is your soul. It's the seat of the throne of your soul in Egyptian mythology, which is not really mythology. Really fucking happened. There's a scale, and you have your heart versus a feather at the end of your lifetime, when you are judged, okay, which is actually where judgment comes from, that Judeo-Christian religion adopted from ancient Egyptian mythology during their slavery. But anyways, your heart is the thing that is judged, okay? And it's judged based on your intention, based on the quality of your being. And I don't like to say quality, because yes, everyone is equal, and yes, everyone is worthy of all goodness, of God's greatest glory, because that's what we are deep down inside. But the thing is that we ourselves do not recognize that. If you think about life as a staircase or a book full of pages, there's levels to this shit. Okay? And many people are stuck way fucking down here, okay, in base consciousness. And I hate to say it, but I just watched a video today where a man dressed up as a woman to run a social experiment to see how men would treat him as a woman that was very beautiful and highly dressed. It was so disgusting. The way that men just acted like they could get that. Like they were just entitled to another person's body because they looked attractive. Like we're gonna pay her money. We're soliciting her to fuck them. That is so debased. That is so disgusting. That is so immoral. That is so debaucherous. Disgusting. Destitute. Fucking destitute. Okay? You think about spirituality, there's levels to it, and you know, people like Yeshua and Mary Magdalene or even like Shiva and Shakti and Shiva are seen as holy, devout, divine, high, enlightened, crowned, royal beings. Okay? And then you have the opposite that's like the cesspool. That's just debased debauchery that kind of runs our world right now. But it's disgusting, okay? And that debased debauchery, I don't fucking want to be a part of. The survival game and the you versus me and the separation consciousness and the competition and the, oh, only I can make it, and this false ego built on lies and greed and deceit and manipulation, coercion, needs to end. And it's time that we return within, to the kingdom within. Okay? Yeshua says in the Gospel of Thomas, which is not canonical Bible, wonder why, I like to keep the truth from people, that if you look to the sky and say that the kingdom is there, then the sky will precede you. And if you look to the ocean and you say that the kingdom is there, then the ocean will precede you. And if you look to the trees or whatever, I can't think of it off the top of my head, so forgive me. I'm not a huge freaking Bible thumper. I don't know all my whatever. You get my point, okay? And he says, but look within, and that is where the kingdom is, and nothing will precede you. Nothing will be empty from you. When we view ourselves from a place of holy divination, as God's solid rock upon, and we view this body as like God's temple, okay? And work to trust in love and return to that childlike nature of joy and freedom and true authenticity, just being us, and having those hopes and those dreams and goals and aspirations, because those are not silly, childish things. Okay, to be childish and childlike is two separate things. All right, there's a lot of 40-year-old people alive in this world that are childish, and then you have my 29-year-old self that is childlike. For Easter, I did some painting eggs and everything, and went out and put them around the yard, and it was actually my mama's idea, and it was really fun. And I've been getting back into creating my art and making videos, editing them, which is my like arch nemesis. I have so many videos that I want to share that I've made over the years throughout like nursing school when I first got the inkling to do this, but I've still been terrified to be this vulnerable, to share my own truth, but God's been telling me that this is the next step, and I'm here to be seen and be a leader and be an inspiration for others, and to tell my story, to connect with people, and to teach through what I've learned through my own hells. I have not been through one hell. I've been through 7. No joke. It's so much to talk about that I won't be able to do it in just one go in one video. And making these long content form videos is another challenge of mine. I'm here to teach and speak, and that cannot be done in 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. But modern day society, the attention span is that of a goldfish, if not less than. So I don't even know if people listen to everything that I say, if people care. But that's not the point. The point is for me to just get this out here. You see how, like, that's that kind of like fear-based separation, lower base consciousness thought right there that's based on, like, lack in a way. What if people don't care? Oh, I don't really know what I'm saying. Oh, I don't know if this makes sense. It's difficult for me to do that, you know? And then there's me being me, who's like, nah, fuck that shit. I'm just gonna do what the fuck I do, and it be what it be. Does that make sense? I hope so. You have this shit that's rooted in bullshit fear. So anything that's based in fear and separation and competition, you versus me, a hierarchy, okay? Bye. Anything that tells you that you're less than, inferior, weak, too sensitive, too emotional, too whatever, or the opposite, you're not enough, you're weak, you're unworthy, you're broken, you're a waste of government money and time, you're too slow. You are none of that. When I was training for the Marines, you know, I was standing next to like 6'5" guys that weighed like 200 pounds. And when we would do our runs, like, they'd all be in the group running together. And then me, with my little legs, I'd be way behind. I remember my staff sergeant came up in the fucking duty vehicle once. This was when I was a pulley. Okay, Marines, if anyone that's Marine is watching, it's when you're enlisted and you haven't shipped yet to boot camp. So you're like training. And he pulled up beside me in the car. And he's looking at his speed. And he's like, "You're going 5 miles an hour." And I'm like, "I'm trying." And So I kind of developed that feeling of inferiority, and then that kind of continued in boot camp because I was small and I got picked on a lot because of that. But now that I'm older, I'm like, it was never really to like be a bitch to me. It was to give me this. The conditioning and the safety of self, the not just safety, the knowing, the confidence. There's a difference between confidence and cockiness. Cockiness is extremely loud and proud and boisterous and talks all the time, never shuts up, because it lacks that internal stability. It doesn't have true confidence. It's just false cockiness. And then true confidence is you know yourself, you know your shit, and you know that you don't need to talk, you don't need to walk, you don't need to own a certain car, look a certain way, follow a certain trend to be happy and successful and feel safe and good with yourself. One of the biggest things I've learned in life is that this hustle culture that we still are dealing with, this hyper masculine do, go, don't feel your feelings, kill your feelings, drown your feelings out, be the man of the house, but be emotionless. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't jive whatsoever. You can't have one without the other. Just that's what creates cockiness, because when you have confidence, your mind and your heart are centered and aligned, and that is what brings forth truth. Between your head, your crown, your third eye up here, and your heart space right here, you have your throat. Okay? And your throat is your voice, your wind. And wind is breath. Breath is spirit. That is what inspiration is spirit. It is life force itself. So your ability to be in your truth as your true authentic expression of self, your true ego, your true mind, and your true vision, your true heart, lost it. That's what matters. So don't follow the crowd. Don't follow the next fucking trend. Don't follow none of that bullshit. Don't follow the, oh, let's pick on them, let's gossip, let's dramatize, let's feel superior, because it's false, because you're lacking inside. When you pick on someone, you're just hurting inside. That's it. You know? When you judge someone, you're judging yourself inside. It's not the other, they're just a reflection of you that you see in yourself. That's why no matter what anyone says to me, that's not my reflection, because I know myself and I see my reflection in the mirror every day, and she's a fucking goddess. And I have been through so much in my life that I just know who the fuck I am because of everything that I have been through. I've walked through fucking fire after fire, reformed and refined into a precious diamond, because I know who the fuck I am, and that's my true self. That's my highest calling, is to be a leader, a warrior, a fighter. Not to fight in aggression, to fight for me, to see what I am capable of with my body and my mind and my spirit all combined. To me, that is like just chef's kiss for being able to express myself. Okay? And for everyone around the world, that is going to be different. You know? My mom loves plants and likes to cook. My friends, my best friend has always wanted to be a mother. I have never wanted to be a mother, but now I'm realizing that I'm like the mother to the earth in a sense. Everyone's kind of my child. Ever since, like in the Marines, when we would go to Savannah, Georgia, fucking love Savannah, Georgia, they would get shit-faced, and I'd always be the one to take care of the group and stop us off from getting into fights and probably getting NJP'd, non-judicial punishment. But anyways, those were good times. Not really, but you know, you make the best of it. So, I don't know, I hope that helps explain life better for you. That's what I'm here to do. Maybe I should just change my description to that. Let me help you figure out life. Since I've figured out life. Well, I figured out my own life, so I figure I might as well try to help others figure out their own. Like, you don't need a fucking certification for this shit. That's another thing I can't stand. Like, gurus and spiritual teachers and whoever the fuck else with a mouth is like, oh, get a certification for this. Get this book. Do this course. See? Spirit agrees. You don't need that. Do a retreat. Go do a retreat. Go do your rituals. You don't need that. You don't need any of that. You don't need a certification to coach on life, because life is the coach and you're the coach and the coached. Like, life itself is your certification, man. It really is. So, go get certified in life, I guess. Spend your money in good ways. Alright. Yep, I guess that's it. Y'all like my hat? I love my hat. I love that it, well, one, it's pink. I look so good in pink. Which is hilarious, because I'm actually quite masculine. But, he's a freaking alien, but he also looks like a cactus, and I love aliens, because I am a fucking alien. I really am. And, like, I don't understand this planet at fucking all anymore. And he's so cute. I love cactuses, too. Kind of wish he was part cactus. But it's fine. Okay. Hope that's makes sense. Blah, blah, blah. I love you. If you guys have any comments or suggestions or anything for the channel, for us, like, I really want to make something of this. I want to build something. I want to build connection and authenticity, because this world is fucking lacking in true, authentic, good leadership and someone, like a mentorship, someone to look up to, you know? When I was 18, 19, I didn't have a mentor. I've never had a mentor. Other than, like, Yeshua and other deities. But it's just been me and God. Like, other people can tell me some things, you know? But other than that, it's me. I was the one laying in the hospital bed. I was the one crying my eyes out to God, asking why this happened to me. And now, 11 years later, I get to fucking help people in the most amazing way possible. Helping us get our shit together, I hope, some way. Nothing I say is to judge, by the way. Seems that my energy can come off as, like, negative. Judgmental, angry, frustrated, divisive. At least that's how it's been on Facebook, which you know is a different platform. But well, for one, I'm Leo rising. So if anyone knows anything about astrology, I'm very fiery, passionate. That's what I am. I'm the warrior spirit. I am fire itself. And fire is a double-edged sword because it can harm, but it can also heal. And you cannot have one without the other. You cannot have creation without destruction, and you cannot have life without death. It's a never-ending cycle between two polarities, okay? Pisces is all about duality, the two fish eternally swimming together. I'm sitting on my cat's bed. Very comfy. You see the yin yang? Okay. See how they balance each other out? And there's darkness in the light, and there's light in the dark. And they form a perfect symmetry down the middle, okay? There's no competition. There's just synergy. Two opposites working together to create movement, okay? You have two legs, and you cannot walk with just one leg. And you cannot walk without, losing and then gaining again, if you think about it. Because when you, I can't turn my camera, but when you walk, you know, if you walk real far, you're gonna go down. Does that make sense? Gonna go down. And then when you take another step, you come back up. Does that make sense? So everything in life is a constant ebb and flow cycle of yin and yang, black and white, life and death. And so false ego and true ego, or I don't really prefer false and true because of the whole correct and incorrect, or right versus wrong. I do not do that here, okay? That is base consciousness. That is so last century, because it's still rooted in that box that says that this is the only true box. And when we condition ourselves to stay stuck in this belief as our ego, that I'm just a Christian, and so because I'm just a Christian, or I'm only a Christian, okay, so that means like I cannot read like the Bhagavad Gita of India, okay, because it's Hindu. You're not helping yourself. You're not developing more with God by keeping yourself in this box. If I had stayed in my box that told me that I was weak, and even just my beliefs as a Christian, if I was still a Christian, I would not be here doing this today, because that Christianity told me that I was unworthy and to stay in my box. But God would never, one, tell you, and two, want you to be stuck in a box. God created a whole entire world. God created every single book that there is. God created every single human that there is and gave them the inspiration to write that text. So you're just shooting yourself in the foot by staying stuck in any kind of box, in any kind of belief system that is single-minded and close-minded instead of open-minded and curious, because that's that defense mechanism itself coming out. That's the lower ego that says, no, I'm only this, so if you're not that, then you're just wrong. I can't stand it when people tell me you're wrong, because you can't tell me that I'm not wrong. Schrodinger's cat is the theory that you put a cat inside a box, okay, and you close the box up. You cannot know for 100% certainty if the cat is alive or dead when it's in the box. If it's not moving, if there's no sound, okay? If you put a cat in a box and then it's just a box, do you even know that there's still a cat in there? Are you sure? Do you know for certain? Because when you defend it then, and you just go, oh yeah, I know that it's alive or dead, you're just closing yourself off to knowledge, to God. Because God is all. Omnipresent, omnipotent, whatever the other one. Words. So be curious, be childlike, and that will set you free of these chains that bind us in mental slavery of lack, uncertainty, doubt, and fear. Because they're just like the difference between confidence and cockiness. This is rooted in cockiness. When you like flaunt shit, like, I don't give a fuck who you are. If your character, if your personality, if your mind is not of high virtue, of goodness, of compassion, of grace, of unity consciousness, of doing difficult things, not because it's not easy, doing difficult things because it's good for you, instead of staying stuck in that comfortable little judgmental box of the false lower ego. It's not you, it's just a mask you put on to perform for the world. And then we come home and we take the mask off, we wonder why we're so fucking depleted inside. It's because we're being fucking fake. It's because we've taken on these identities from birth. And instead of questioning the identity and the words and the clothing, instead of looking at it and inspecting it and being like, does this fit me as a good shirt? Is this a good style for me? We just go, oh yeah, this is the clothes I was given, so this is my life. And that is spiritual poverty. And that is destitution. And that is lack of God. Instead of saying, oh, I'm fucking everything, we just go, oh, I'm only one thing. And this is who I am. Because if I stray from that and I go into anything else, well, then who am I? And I need to defend this identity. I need to defend it. Why? I don't know, because it's not even mine. It's just what was placed on me. But I just feel like, I was naked without it, so I just need to wear some kind of clothing and feel some kind of normalcy, safety, comfortability. Even though that fucking comfortability, like, it could be like a fucking woolly, shirt, and it just itches. Or it's just like a turtleneck that's just, and it just chokes you. And you're like, no, it's fine. It's fine. Or you're like, that's good. I love the clothing I'm wearing. No, you fucking don't, man. So just take the fucking shirt off and go to the fucking store and get your own fucking shirt that you want to fucking wear, because you are a fucking human being with your own personality, your own identity, your own soul, your own being. And that is how we create a safer, healthier, happier, more godly world. Love ya. This has been the Pisces Poet. And you know it. Because I show it. And I grow it. And I own it. Mwah.